Starting up a business is easy, but growing it is the harder part. Please welcome with me an expert who is going to take us through on how to start and grow your business. You are watching Ignite Your Business. Please welcome Yussouf Ntwali, the CEO of Bag Innovation. Yussouf, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Tell us briefly about Bag Innovation.
Yes, BAG Innovation stands for, or the word BAG stands for Building a Generation, and basically we're trying to solve a problem that university students are graduating without the skills that are needed for the job markets, resulting in a lot of graduates not being able to find jobs, and employers spending a lot of time and money to try to train young people to become fully effective on the job. So BAG is here with a solution that can actually really solve this problem. So what we do is we partner with employers to try to understand exactly what they're looking for in young people, and then we use that information to kind of create different modules and tracks on our platform that students can take on to really understand what a role would look like if they were to work at a specific company, receive feedback, but also increase their chances of getting employed.
You've been in business for quite some time, 4 years now. What are some of the challenges that startup companies can easily face?
The challenges that startups usually face, like myself, I think there are many, right? We always keep seeing a lot of reports about challenges startups are facing, or if you talk to any entrepreneur, they're going to mention a couple of things, right? One of them is the lack of access to capital, right? So all of us would love to just get abundance of money and just do whatever we want, or just grow our business and really invest in growing really fast. But then it's not really easy to be able to access capital, at least in the early days of your company in markets such as Africa. And I think another key challenge that we've seen, and I've seen in my entrepreneurship journey, is that it's really hard to find talented people for you to hire who can work for you and really drive your organization to the next level. And a lack of, I would say, mentorship. I think it's something that a lot of us entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, we face because, for example, if you're starting a company in countries like Rwanda, in a market like education technology, there's not that many people who've done it. There's literally nobody who has created an education technology product in Rwanda who you can look up to if I want to start my business and call them and say, hey, I'm facing this challenge. How did you overcome it? So we tend to rely mostly on other people from different markets who've done it before and try to learn from them. But the context might not be the same, right? So I think the lack of access to mentorships, people who've successfully built businesses that we can look up to and seek for advice is also one of the key challenges. So I would say those three: lack of access to capital, lack of access to talent, and lack of mentorship, at least in the early days of our companies.
You've talked about capital, so maybe some of our viewers may want to know, if someone doesn't have capital, does it mean that you cannot start a business, or someone can start up a business without capital and it even grows? Have you seen people that start up businesses without capital?
I would have to say absolutely. I think there's a lot of case studies of people who've been successful with their businesses and they didn't necessarily start with a lot of money. When we say no capital, right, I think we really need to be very, very specific, because no capital, can mean like you literally have 0 francs, right? Because even if we say that registering a company at RDB, right, it takes you a couple of, let's say, hours to just fill in the details, but then you need that internet bandwidth for you to be able to access, the website of RDB. So, that in some cases could be considered as capital, right? So I would say in different sectors, you might need different types of capital. So for example, if you are trying to start a business in the hardware industry, right, then you obviously need to invest a little bit in a prototype, a physical prototype. So that means finding a nearest lab or something where you can build this prototype or pay a few, hundreds of Rwandan francs to maybe a local wood shop so they can make you something. So it's much harder to start a business with very, very, very little capital if you're in the hardware business, as opposed to, let's say, software. Right, so software is it's a little bit easier because if you just have a laptop and you have access to Wi-Fi, you can literally, there's a lot of websites that you can create, and that could actually be your MVP, and that can help you secure funding from a potential investor, right? So it's much harder to start a business with very, very little capital if it's in the hardware industry. But if you are in the software industry, which is majority of where the world is going, it's a little bit easier because you just need a laptop, access to internet, and the right resources for you to research on.
I want us to focus more on startups. Because, you know, one of the problems we are facing today in Rwanda is unemployment, especially among the youth. So, what are some of the misconceptions about startups?
That's a very good one, right? I would have to say that it's something that I keep talking to a lot of my friends about. One of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to entrepreneurship in general is that it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the lack of the lack of access to mentors and mentorship. So what does that mean? So one of the reasons why a lot of people are not attracted to becoming an entrepreneur, to start their own businesses, is really goes down to one reason, is because they haven't seen someone become successful by starting their own business and actually making it, right? And even if they are, there are only a few of them. In other markets, let's say the US, you see a lot of young people who've started businesses. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg started, Facebook at 19, right? And this is one of the most valued companies in the world right now, right? So when you create that kind of ecosystem, any kid who's 19 in the US feels like they can actually build a business and they can be successful, right? So the misconception about companies in Africa is that I haven't seen my uncle start a business and become successful. Oh, my mom started a shop and then it wasn't successful. Oh, so entrepreneurship is all about failing. So we basically need a lot more success stories. We need young people to actually prove to the world that, hey, I can come up with an idea. I can, really build a company that is going to impact a lot of people and actually employ a lot of people. And as we start getting a lot of these case studies and people that we can look up to, I would love to see in schools, kids learning about Rwandan entrepreneurs and saying, this is how, Sina Girard made, all his money. This is how he grew his industry. And if we can start doing that, then we can create this entrepreneurship spirit in people, and they will believe that entrepreneurship is not just about failing. There's a lot of great success stories, and it's actually a path you should consider.
As we conclude, this is going to depend on whether you've ever experienced any financial setback. So as a business person, in cases of any financial setback, how do you bounce back?
I would have to say financial setbacks are, bound to happen because I think in business you're always ready to, either you invest too much or you invest too little, and then you have a lot of demand and then there's competition. There's always these things that are always going to create these financial setbacks, right? Otherwise, we would all be happy every day and no problems. So when it comes to financial setbacks, I would say that the key to bouncing back, it really goes back to innovation and creativity, right? It's all about, okay, I'm saying that great. If we continue doing what we're doing, we're obviously going to go bankrupt, so we're not going to have any money, right? What are we doing wrong? Really taking a step back and saying, what are we doing wrong? Let's analyze the market. Maybe the product that we're putting on the market is not needed right now. Can we innovate? Can we create something new? Can we offer, specific, let's say, offers to our clients for them to be able to come back and buy our products again? So when it comes to financial setbacks, I'd really go back to innovation and creativity, which is essentially another thing that when you are building a company, you need to have that sense of, we don't just do something the way we do it all the time, because that is what makes a startup different from a large organization, right? A large organization, it takes months, it takes many signatures for any new idea to be implemented. But in a startup, I can come up with an idea today. Tomorrow it will be implemented and it will be on the market, right? And that is what makes startups grow faster, because the innovation and creativity culture is really there and it's really embraced. So when there's financial setbacks, I would say go back to the root cause of it. Like, what is causing this? Maybe you have, you're spending too much money somewhere where you're not supposed to be spending there. I see a lot of companies, hire too fast, too many people, and it's like, do you really need the people? Maybe you can really utilize the people that you already have. It's really going back to the root cause, but again, a good way to be able to overcome it is tapping into creativity and trying to be innovative and really staying agile so that you don't go out of the market very soon.
Thank you so much, Yussouf. This was so educative.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've heard it from him. If you begin having any questions regarding business, it's high time you started yours now. Until next time, I am Joanne Bowers.